we go. Welcome everyone to another edition of the Cornhole Insider Podcast. Joel Karnick here, Mr. Al Baghdadi right there. How you doing, Al?
Good evening. Good evening. Hello. Welcome.
Good to see you, oh slayer of great bears of the North Woods. How many people did you help take a bear down this fall?
5.
Whoa. Hey.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Not too shabby. What was
It was a good year.
What was the biggest one?
309.
All right. Very cool. And there he is, Mr. ACL Pro Blake Karnick. How you doing, Blake?
Doing good. How's everyone doing?
Good. Hi, Blake.
Hello, Al Baghdadi.
Haven't seen you for a while.
It has been a while. It's been a few months.
Yeah.
Well, we are set. We've delayed this long enough. The grumbling has already begun before we even posted this about an updated Minnesota top 10. But before we do that, we'll talk a little bit about the Badgerland Bag Brawl. I know Stacy and Aaron have some family stuff going on, and it's just hard for them to jump on the feed because they basically run tournaments also every night of the week. But I do know, Mr. Baghdadi, that we have 292 doubles teams set to square off this weekend in Ho Chunk Casino in the Dells in Baraboo, Wisconsin. Sold out, Mr. Baghdadi. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And it's going to be the biggest tournament this state has seen, and it's just an amazing effort to bring it all together by some individuals.
Lots of directors, yeah, lots of people. Stacy and Aaron Washa are the driving force behind it, but a lot of other directors will be helping out. Everybody bringing boards. Look for that Northern Wisconsin cornhole set of record boards represented on the NWC board, guaranteed to increase your PPR, right, when they shoot on that court right now.
Guaranteed.
Whatever it is.
For some of us, there's no place to go except for us.
Whatever it is, it would have been lower. Yeah. Don't play Blake on those because that's the ones he practices on, like 7.
Yeah, those are my practice boards. I can vouch that they make your confidence go way up.
All right. So 292 doubles teams that's sold out. There's a combination of teams from all over the Midwest. Singles wise, I think the Badgerland Bag Brawl may have actually crashed Scoreholio because a couple of the categories disappeared. But I know singles wise, there's I think 500 to 600 total singles players, 90 in the upper division, 163 in the intermediate, and the other 2 divisions I think they were working on today because I couldn't find what they were. Listen to the Friday night switch holio. Now a lot of times people will come. This is a Friday night, Saturday, Sunday event. A lot of times people will come late Friday or early Saturday, but they have 382 people signed up for a switch holio on Friday night.
That should be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good to be.
How many can you put in one bracket for a switch holio? I'm not even sure on that. They must have to have multiple brackets or something.
I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen.
I thought it was 128, or I could be wrong on that though. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. I got a weird word.
Should be lots of. It should be quite the social event for the cornhole community. A lot of Minnesota players coming over, which is always fun.
All skill levels too. Like a lot of these big tournaments, like ACL and ACO majors, you see a lot of the top players congregate. This one has options for every single level of players. So you'll see everyone from Wisconsin, Minnesota, and some top pros in the Midwest as well.
I thought that was part of the allure of this tournament was, you find a partner and it doesn't have to be the top shooter in the world because of the way that it's set up with the rounders, that you're going to fall into the bracket that you belong to be in, no matter
tier 2 in doubles, $2,000 for first place for tier 2. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So singles, you kind of got to pick what category you're going to be in, and there is still some space available in a couple of categories, but in doubles, everybody's playing the Swiss Holio, and then we'll go into the 4 different categories. It's going to be a crazy weekend at the Ho Chunk Casino. I think there's going to be a lot of spectators there because we're going to see guys like, pros like Blake Karnick and Steve Schrader and Ryan Windsor will be there. I think Trey Birchfield, Jordan Power. I should have stopped listing because there's gonna be a lot of top level pros
Yeah.
there from all over the Midwest and heart of the country. So
The last that I checked, I see that Ryan Windsor didn't have a partner listed yet, so it'd be interesting to see who his partner is going to be.
I'm pretty sure
Not too
Noah
late.
Wooten's might's gonna be there. They might be partnering. I can't confirm that though. I know he's gonna be there. Noah Wooten is.
all right. Or Al Baghdadi. I think I got his cell number from the podcast we did. If you want me to get a hold of him for
Yeah, maybe.
Al Baghdadi and the Blind Squirrel. Yeah. All right. So gonna be a fun weekend in Baraboo, Wisconsin, Dells, Ho Chunk Casino. And it's going to be just a great weekend with all the directors coming through to make it happen. So let's dig in. So let's dig into our new top 10. And Blake, I guess we kind of figured the last time we did this, and we knew eventually we'd do an update with the level of number of players in Minnesota, Blake, that are getting better and better. We knew this list would look a lot different when we did part 2, right?
Yeah, we figured it'd change a little bit. The new state championships came around. There's a lot more ACL events that have happened, and just the talent pool is getting deeper and deeper, and a lot of the names are getting known more, especially a lot of the younger guys. And I think you'll see a lot of these new younger names in this list, both in the top 10 and honorable mention OLI. It's really encouraging to see.
Yep, definitely. So let's dig in here. Hope you guys can see that on your end there as we bring you the new top 10 for the state of Minnesota. Everybody can see that fine?
Yep.
I see a
All
logo.
right, very good. So let's jump right in, and we've got
I think we need to
Yeah.
we need to hit on how this list was formulated, because last time there was lots of statements that how do the guys from Wisconsin make a list of the top players in Minnesota. So I think that
That's fair.
we need to tell them how we created this list.
Yeah, we have several directors, several people that either run tournaments or go to a lot of tournaments around Minnesota. We tried to cover different sections of the state, and we asked them to give us their top 10 players and their next 5, kind of the outside looking in.
So if you want to ask why you're put where you are, why you think you were put the where you are, ask your local players and directors of the opinions, because we have no say in who is where on this list.
Yeah, and so we'll have the outside looking in will be ones that didn't get enough votes to make the top 10, but are right there. And I will say that the first time we did it, Blake, I went strictly by the voting. I did not tweak it all. This time we had a couple of our directors that were very busy and felt they weren't qualified yet. So a couple of the positions I tweaked a little bit, but not much. This is pretty much a true list. I want to give it just a little bit of a little bit of sidebar on that, because I've seen a lot of these players, most of these players, and have a pretty good idea. So
Top 10's pretty much true though.
it is.
That's
And,
it. Top 10's pretty much true.
and we'll comment because we've got several that are outside looking in that the last time we did the list, Blake, they would have been good enough to be in the top 10, but the depth is just getting crazy. So we got a few that got bumped out.
Yep.
All right, so let's dig right in here to our top 10 players for the state of Minnesota, presented by, well, we want to thank wheelwayautos.com. I want to thank Knob Creek Design. They're a local board manufacturer in Birchwood, Wisconsin. Check them out on Facebook, Knob Creek Design, State Farm Insurance, and Wreck-It Boards.
Can I plug a couple of my sponsors too? I'm on the podcast.
Well, we have to, otherwise you're not ever going to come on with us again. Yeah.
Got the shirt on Element Exteriors, John Blanco to Stillwater, and of course, everyone knows Ultra Cornhole.
Okay. Al, you want to thank anybody? You want to thank your wife or anybody or?
Thank the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
No, I'm good.
We want to thank Kyle Ralph at Wreck-It Boards for sending us those set of boards that'll be at the bag brawl this weekend. So those are really, really cool. All right. Are we ready, Mr. Baghdadi?
We are ready.
Oh, the anticipation is just.
Wait, I'm not ready. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Sorry. Number 10, we got Hunter Thorson. Now, speaking of players, Blake, that have really blossomed in the last year, this is example number 1.
Yep, plays in that central Minnesota area. He's playing in a lot of tournaments this year, a lot of local tournaments. I know he's been winning a lot with Eddie's Cornhole reviews recently, a lot of Minneapolis tournaments, and probably his most notable win. The reason that I think he really deserves to be this top 10 is him and Eddie Winker went down to the Clash in Iowa, and they got second place overall with a lot of pros there, including Mark Richards and Ryan Windsor. They took them to 3 games in that championship, so that's very impressive for 2 younger guys to take 2 established pros like that, kind of to their brink a little bit, even though they didn't get the win. I think it was very impressive, and top 10 spot is definitely deserved for Hunter.
Yep, he's throwing really
You
well.
know, is Hunter in high school yet, Blake? Do you know?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I think he's 17.
Hunter and Eddie
Might have that wrong.
both in high school.
Yep.
Before we go any further, I forgot to point out, Mr. Baghdadi, I got my, in honor of the Minnesota top 10, I have my Fran Tarkington number 10 jersey on here for you here. I won't show you my Tarkington in the back, so I wear my purple there. Figure Minnesota people would appreciate that. All right, so Hunter Thorson comes in at number 10. Number 9 on the list is going to belong to the guy who I think he won seniors at the Minnesota State Championship, Blake. Am I right on that?
Back to back. He just
Back-
repeated back to back senior state champ.
Yep, and always a tough out in any tournament beyond those seniors ones. And I think just the seniors titles alone should really get him notoriety. A guy that can, you've always told me you think he's the best air mailer that in the Midwest. He's just crazy.
I think he's still holding on to the title of being near that best airmailer in Minnesota. That's his game, sliding airmail. He's just always down the middle and winning that back-to-back seniors title. Those are those 2 signature wins that a lot of people see him for. So one heck of a guy, one heck of a shooter.
Fun guy to hang around too in the tournament. Just a nice, positive guy. I know he's been a big supporter of yours, Blake. Just a good guy.
Oh yeah.
All right, there you go. Number 9, Mr. Jim Bruce. Number 8, we've got Mason Erkey. This is another one that's coming up through the ranks. I've had a chance to play against him a few times. I think I played against him, I don't know, at Badger State, but again, another one of the young guys. He's kind of a roller too. Am I right on that, Blake?
Yep, he's got a nice roll shot. I know he throws surefires a lot. He throws, I think, birchberries too, but he's just his skill set. He's got a good, nice all-around game. He's making deep runs in a lot of tournaments. I know he made a good run. I think you're thinking of the Ryder Cup when you think of seeing him.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I know he
Yeah,
made a
he's
good.
Top 5,
Made it-
I think.
I think he
probably.
got like 3rd or 4th in
Yeah.
Ryder Cup singles, but that's another signature run by him. But yeah, he's just consistently just making good runs, and he's another young guy that's just getting a lot better.
If him and Big Daddy Chris Evans were 3rd in the
Yep,
doubles at the Minnesota State tournament.
that's also right. Yep.
All right, so congrats, Mason. Keep it going. Number 8 in our Minnesota top 10. Number 7, Patrick Sladek. Now, this is a guy that won the state last year. Doesn't play in a lot of tournaments for I'm sure for family reasons, stuff like that. But when he does show up, Blake, he always does really good.
Yeah, 2-time singles state champ. Those 2 wins, those are big signature wins, and those hold a lot of weight to him. Even though he didn't make as good of a run as he wanted to this year in singles, just being able to make those 2 big runs. I mean, he was he number 2 or 3 or something in our last list. So he's got to keep staying on the list because he made those good runs, and we know how good he can be.
Yep. And there's a lot of players like him that for whatever reason just don't get out and play as much as maybe they want to or whatever, but I think they still need to be recognized as one of the top players in the state when you face him. So Patrick comes in at number 7. Number 6, Chico, one half of the Mexicutioners, just always Mr. Steady. He'll kill you with the airmails too once in a while too, Blake, right?
Yep, he's got that slide and airmail. He's been around forever, and he's always making pretty good runs. Him and Juan, Executioners, most known doubles team, like we said last time. He's just always consistent, like you said. He's making good runs, even though Juan and Chico haven't been winning as much as they would like to recently. I mean, they're still the biggest
I think
names,
that's
and
more of the competition has gotten so much better. That
Oh yeah, that's a compliment to the
it's a
depth
lot
of
harder to win
Minnesota.
for everybody.
Yeah, it's not any like slack on them or anything. It's just the depth and the levels in Minnesota are getting a lot higher, and it's a lot more competitive now.
Well, it used to be as recently as a year and a half ago, Blake, you show up at a tournament, as long as one of the two guys is shooting good and the other one, maybe an 8.5 PPR, you'd be all right. Most tournaments now, you better have two guys that are both shooting 9 or more PPRs, or maybe more than that. Otherwise, you're probably not going to make it all the way through.
Yeah, and most of these Minnesota tournaments, no matter where it is, you usually got one or multiple of these top 10 guys playing in tournaments. I know the
Uh-oh.
All right, we froze up a little bit there on Blake. So, are you still there, Blake? All right, so Blake froze up on us. Are you still there, Al?
I'm still here.
Okay, all right,
I thought maybe it was me.
all right. So we're gonna let Blake go, and we're gonna let him. Let me see if I can have him rejoin. But we'll continue on here, and hopefully Blake will rejoin us here in just a second as I hit the button there. And there you go. Are you back, Blake?
my Wi-Fi went out. Sorry, stupid college Wi-Fi. Anyway.
All right. Yeah, you gotta play at a high level, two players at a high level. It used to, like I said, it used to be have one, maybe a pro level player and throwing another guy at mid range. A lot of times that's not good enough anymore. So let's move into number 5. And this is again, another guy really moving up on the list. And I think what you can say about Eric Blake, when I've seen him recently, is he seems to be a lot more consistent in the last year. When I play him, every time he shows up for the tournament, he's always right there, maybe not winning it, but his consistency, I think, kind of gets him that top 5 spot here.
Yeah, you see all these new entries in the list. I mean, most of them are like younger kids, but I think Eric's the most improved. That's not like 21 and under. He's just been getting a lot better. He's found a bag he's really comfortable with. He's been throwing those king cheetahs, and he won the top 100 ACL singles tournament. I think it was like a month or two ago. I don't know, but he made a good run at the Open in Illinois recently. He's a state doubles champion now with Ryan Franson, but he's just been getting a lot more consistent, and that's kudos to him for just playing a lot. And I love playing with and against Eric.
That's when we were talking about doing the top 10 this year. I was hoping that Eric would make the list because I've noticed, I mean, I've watched for a lot of results, and I've noticed that he's had a lot of good runs recently and winning the doubles in Minnesota, and it's just like, I mean, I think that he earned his way onto this list, definitely.
Yeah.
It's just those notable runs, those deep runs are what you'll look for. And that's what stands out to a lot of the people that voted for this. I mean, you just look at these names, they all have a signature run or signature wins with them. And Eric has gotten a lot more recently, and that's why he's on the top 10 list, I think.
All right, everybody, be sure to check out the rest of all of our YouTube feeds at Northern Wisconsin Cornhole YouTube channel. All kinds of instructional videos on there. Hopefully more to come. Hard when Blake's away to school to get stuff done, but
And when I break a tripod, that's always fun.
and he broke a tripod too. Yeah,
My Hulk strength. What can I say?
an errant airmail probably. Huh?
No, I'd make all my airmails. You know that.
Oh, well, they would slide past the board and then hit it. I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, it's too clean. Yeah, and undercut it. That's what happens.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so let's move on to number 4 here. Number 4, we're gonna Eddie Winker. Again, we're talking about the young guys. This is a national trend at the big tournaments, ACL, ACO, the young guys. Eddie Winker, I tell you what, I first experienced him at County Fair over in St. Cloud, I think last summer, and he threw lights out in the wind. And it just seems like every time I see him, he has a very consistent throw, nice rotation, and he can do a little bit of everything. I mean, he can cut around a little bit, but he just loves that slide-in game. He can whoop you at that.
I think he's made the biggest jump out of anyone in the past 6 months to a year. I mean, he's just, like we've been talking about, so many quality wins, getting second at the Clash with Hunter. He won the conference singles tournament recently for the Mid-North. He's won a regional. He's been getting top 3 finishes. And he's just, every time I watch him, I think he got tied for 3rd in the overall blind draw at the Open in Illinois too. He can do everything: slide, roll, cut, airmail. He's just been getting so much better.
He's a guy that I would have to admit that 6 months ago I had never heard of him, and then I started seeing his name pop up here, and I still haven't seen him throw live in person with my own eyes, but I've seen lots of live feeds of him throwing.
He's just found that comfortable throw for him, and it's just clicked for him this past 6 months. And every time you go to a tournament, you see that he's there, you know that he's going to bring his A game pretty much every time.
Steve Schrader and I are trying to give him the nickname because he doesn't really have a nickname. So when we were at the ACL Open in Quad Cities eating at Applebee's at midnight, we had a discussion about who he should be, and I kind of looked at him and I thought, he's kind of looks like the Fonz, like Arthur Fonzarelli, and he's really a cool kid. He's got his hat tipped a little bit. So when you see Mr. Eddie Winker, just give him a thumbs up. Say, hey, the Fonz, because he does stay cool, Blake, during all the matches. You see very little emotion from him.
Oh yeah, he's a very calm kid for his age, and I respect that a bunch of just how he's able to keep his emotions under control, or at least he shows that. I mean, he doesn't show his opponents any signs of frustration. I respect it a bunch.
All right, so the Fonz is at number 4. Number 3, we've got Mr. Chris
Big Daddy.
Evans, and I believe he was last year's number 1, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, he was. Yeah, winners win. He was number 1. He's fallen a couple of spots.
I don't think there will be anybody on this list that'll be more relieved to have slid in a couple spots than Chris Evans. He told me a few weeks ago. He's like, just put me number 2. He says, I'm done with the number 1 thing.
Yeah, even though he hasn't been getting like those big results as of recently that he wants. I mean, he's still just he's been consistent. He's been consistent for the past. He's been doing it forever, 5-6+ years. He's just, everyone knows him. Just winners win. That's enough said.
Big Daddy. He wants to be on the Wolfsten team next year for Ryder Cup. I'm not sure if we can do that. I think he lives a little too far from us.
Well,
he was howling.
Is he related to somebody on our team? Maybe then we can slide it in.
We can probably find an Evans somewhere around here, I would guess.
Yeah.
All right, so Chris Evans, Big Daddy, comes in at number 3. Number 2, well, Chris is a Big Daddy's partner in a lot of big events. His Business Sam, and you talk about the art of consistency, Blake. You very rarely will see Visna throw a bad round, maybe a bad bag, but this guy is just so consistent.
Yeah, he's just got a fairly simple game, the slide and airmail, but it's just, like you said, it's just so consistent. He throws those Vipers sliding down the middle. He's always making top runs. He finished 2nd overall at state singles. I think he made a good doubles run, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong on that. But, I mean, he's just always consistently making good runs at tournaments he shows up at. He plays with Sambo a lot also. And, yeah, he's just down in the middle.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the only person that's ever been able to crack him personality-wise is during the 8-man Ryder Cup when Dusty Bebo had him rolling a little bit laughing. So that was, but Dusty can do that to anybody. No?
That's why he's on Team Wolfsten, baby.
That's right. All right. So this is going to be no surprise, of course, to everybody who the number 1 team is, our number 1 player. What? Wait a minute. Is that a typo?
Wait a minute.
I thought for sure it was going to be a tie between Andrew Cox and Will Backey.
Born in St. Paul, Minnesota. Doesn't that make me eligible for the Minnesota top 10? Technically, Blake?
You're wearing a Viking jersey. I think you could count as Minnesota. Then again, I think I should too, because I live like a footstep away from the border, but we move.
Right. All right. I got relatives in Minnesota. All right. I won't even be in the top 10.
Get your name out of there. Put the
number 1, Lexi Hugeback, of course. Lexi, everyone, I think, who knows Lexi was so excited when she qualified at the last possible moment there to become an ACL pro. I think seeing her at that Quad Cities ACL regional, I think that just lifted a big burden off her back, making that. And now I think she's ready to relax, Blake, and make some runs in women's and singles at these big ACL events.
Yeah, because she's been wanting to make pro for a while. And once you get there, and once you've been wanting it for so long, and that stress is just off your shoulders, you can just play your game and focus back to the basics. And I think that's where she's at right now. She's just playing confident. She's more loose, and she has the skill set to make some really good runs at ACL nationals, not just a women's, but just in general.
Well, you know exactly.
Minnesota's first ACL pro.
Yep. That,
And when you play Lexi, you know exactly what she's going to do. It's just hard to stop it sometimes.
it's just such an annoying game to play. That block and roll, those BGs are so hard to push out of the way. You just gotta. Well, I shouldn't give away my strategy when I play Lexi.
You
but
know, Lexi's laughed at that right away because she loves it when somebody calls it annoying to play her.
it is. That's flat and simple. It's what
It is. If you played Lexi and she's on her game, it is very frustrating because it's hard to get around those bags, and then she'll flop it right over and she'll cut it, and she's an incredible player.
Lexi Hugeback Shooter, that's her nickname. We got to spread it on the podcast. Lexi Shooter Hugeback.
All right. So Lexi comes in at number 1. So now we got our outside looking in. These are players that were really close to getting in the top 10.
Is this in any particular order?
This
or
is
no? I don't
not
think
in
it-
any particular order, this outside looking in. This is just people who received votes and were close to getting in. So I'll just list them. We got Juan Marino, one half of the Executioners, of course, Andrew Cox, who's always right up there. We've got Soka, easily could be top 10. Ryan Franzen.
Ryan Franzen with an S, by the way.
Oh, sorry about that, Ryan. Gus Rudderman. Gus is very tough when he's on his game, and he's, I think, one of those players that we might be talking about next year jumping into that top 10. Jim Larson, Hayden, another young up and comer, likes to do those roll shots, big heavy bags.
He's right on the edge. He's right there.
Yep,
He's right there.
Eddie's Cornhole Reviews, of course. Eddie's game has just vaulted incredibly.
He called me today or a day or two ago, and he was telling me at the Minneapolis tournament, it was his birthday this past week, and he said he threw like a 10 PPR with 15 shots in him, and it's just he just gets loose out of his own head. He's only been playing for like a year too. It feels like for this YouTube channel, he's been around forever, but it's only been like a year, maybe not even.
Brody's game has elevated just in the last few months. And, you know, when you got guys like Sambo who aren't in the top 10, who probably should be there in the top 10, but again, there's only 10 spots. This is a pretty quality list, El Baghdadi, of people who are on the outside looking in.
I have so much respect for the Minnesota cornhole community. You're going to see, I think you're going to see the number of pros in Minnesota jump by a big margin in the next 2 or 3 years. You know, there's some really good people that throw a lot, and they're going to just keep getting better and better. Now they have more opportunities to play the ACL.
Yeah, the regionals in Montevideo and Rochester, and rumors of an ACL Open in Minnesota that hasn't been announced yet, but rumors are that there is one coming in May or June. So congrats, all make the OLI. Now, honorable mention are ones that, again, we use a little discretion. These are ones that may or may not have received votes, but we think are recognized as players that they can light you up at any point along the way. We got April, we've got Chad Welton, we've got Will Backey, of course, Susie, and Lucas Cooper, and Jay Bilberg, Jim Cooper, Mike Tapp, Randy Cruson, Kenley Merrill, one of the top senior players. Again, these are players
Paul
that
Cruson
maybe
in there too, yeah.
Paul, yeah, and players that are not maybe consistent as some of the top players, but are capable of taking down anybody at any time with the top of their game.
I think Brady and Jordan Host are two other ones that definitely make good runs.
Okay,
Those
all
two
right.
have gotten a lot better.
Yep, the Host boys are right in there too. So there's probably 8 or 10 more that people are probably going to put in the comments of this.
Yeah, apologize if we missed any names, and I apologize for my father's spelling errors at some points too on some names.
Well, I
It's
do what I
Soka
can.
Fan and Sambo Yi, by the way. You forgot their last name, so I'll put them in there. So if Soka or Sambo yell at me, I got them.
All right, I figure that's what we call them. So all right, well, there it is, our updated Minnesota top 10 list. And see, Minnesota guys, so you can't yell at me too much here, as feeling the
For entertainment purposes only.
And we'll be doing an updated Wisconsin list coming up probably in a couple of weeks after the Badgerland Bag Brawl. And Al, it's going to be real interesting this weekend with some of the pros coming in from outside and top players, but it is going to be kind of interesting to analyze Wisconsin, Minnesota, kind of how each side finishes and you know, how they finish in the singles and some of the doubles. Because it's going to be interesting to see which state maybe does a little bit better in this thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great mix of players, you know, and it's always fun when you get several states together for a tournament like that, because it kind of gives you a chance to compare where they're at.
To give you an idea, last year's top 10, this was last year's top 10. Kenley Merrill was 10, Jim Bruce was 9, Sambo was 8, Juan was 7, Andrew Cox was 6, Chico was 5, Visna was 4, Lexi 3, Patrick Sladek 2, and Chris Evans was number 1. So we had a little shifting of 2 or 3 players that went in, and a couple that slid out. So there you have it. Let the chatterbox.
Outstanding.
What's that, Al?
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Now we can see how this goes over in the Minnesota world now.
Yeah. How many Minnesota people are going to be there this weekend? How much trouble am I going to be in for this?
Yeah.
Blake or Al Baghdadi, you got Chris Evans, Big Daddy.
I'm gonna take all the heat anyway. I'm gonna take all the heat since I'm
You
over here.
will.
so.
You're right. I'm too old for him to pick on. Big Daddy's got me.
Everyone that doesn't have a mention, they're gonna yell at me and be like, "Well, talk to your Minnesota peers. They're the ones who decided it, not me."
Yeah.
We know there's more good players out there. A few maybe hiding in local leagues, and you know, I guess all we can say is,
Oh yeah, I could name 20 more players off the top of my head right now that could be on there. I'm not gonna go on about everyone. But.
Come to a big tournament and place high and kind of grab some of that attention. So, all right, Mr. Al Baghdadi, you're going to be in the Dells, right?
Yes.
All right, we'll see you
I'll
down
be there
there.
all 3 days.
All right, Blake, we will see you there too.
I will see you all in the Dells.
Check out all the other cool videos on our Northern Wisconsin Cornhole YouTube page. Joel Karnick here saying so long. We'll see you this weekend in the Dells.